Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by Jack Threads.
Today on Variant, we count down my top 5 favorite cartoons of all time. Heck to the yeah. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than Michael Bay loves blowing up. I'm your host, Arris. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love cartoons, especially the ones I grew up on back when I was just a youngin'. So if you want to relive your childhood, grab your favorite cereal bowl and sit down. I'm about to count down my top 5 favorite comic book cartoons of all time, starting with pick number 5. My number 5 pick is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon from 1987. Some people might be like, wait, what? The Ninja Turtles was from a comic book? And the answer to that question would be yes. It was picked up and made into a TV show and toy line. Of course, I think the series was great, as I'm sure most people would agree, even though it was a lot different from the comic version of the Ninja Turtles. But I'm not gonna lie, a little bit of the reason why it made it into my top 5 is because of nostalgia's sake. When I was a kid, I would never miss a Saturday morning episode. But the cartoon still makes me laugh to this day, and the animation still holds up for the most part. Plus, without this version of the Ninja Turtles, we wouldn't have the franchise we know and love today. From the 4 movies that follow the tone of the cartoon to the fact that they are now working on an all-new film which is being produced by Michael Bay, who has the brilliant idea that the turtles should be from outer space. That dude loves on my childhood. My 4th pick is X-Men the Animated Series from the 90s. Every Saturday morning I would set an alarm just to make sure I didn't miss a new episode while chowing down on some Cookie Crisp. Those were the good old days. The costume designs were based off of Jim Lee's art and probably the most known interpretation of the X-Men. The thing I love most about this series is that it loosely adapted storylines that were in the comics themselves, like the Dark Phoenix saga, Days of Future Past, and Enter Magneto, which was the first issue of Uncanny X-Men. This cartoon is actually what really got me into the X-Men comics, as I'm sure it did for lots of other people. The toy line in this cartoon is also fantastic. I actually still have my Wolverine figure from the series to this day. But in my opinion, the voice acting and the stories are both top-notch. Plus, I had a major crush on Rogue when I was a young lad. That southern accent, which is a little creepy. I mean, come on. The accent. But anyway, if you haven't seen the series yet, A, that's a darn shame, and B, you can stream the entire series on Netflix and enjoy the deliciousness. Nom 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 nom. Number 3 on my list is the Spider-Man series from the 90s. Now, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, so there's no way this wasn't going to make it into my top 3. My dad was actually a big fan of this cartoon as well, and would always come watch it with me or call me downstairs to come watch it with him. Which brings me to my next point. This series was so good, even adults got into it, which makes the fact that this was the longest running Spider-Man series to date no surprise. One thing I loved about this series was all the guest appearances from other Marvel characters like the Punisher, Blade, Daredevil, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four, just to name a few. The overall tone of the show was awesome, and in my opinion, captured the vibe of Spider-Man better than any other adaptation yet. Another thing the show nailed was Spider-Man's sarcastic personality, cracking jokes at his villains as they fight, and saying all kinds of sarcastic stuff every chance he gets. It was great and still makes me laugh when I rewatch episodes. Now, to be honest, some stuff like the animation of Spider-Man swinging through the city is a little dated, and the fact that Peter Parker is in college and not in high school was a little lame, but I can let that go because overall it's a classic and a must-watch for any Spider-Man fan. And just like X-Men, if you haven't seen this series, do not be saddened. You can stream the entire series on Netflix right now. Only suckers pay full price. If you love alternative apparel brands like Kid Robot and Hurley, but hate wasting your cash on them, listen up. You can score these premium brands at up to 80% off every day. There's a new invite-only shopping club just for guys called Jack Threads, serving up street, skate, and surfwear brands at prices that will melt your brainsicles. There's a waitlist to join, but if you head to jackthreads.com/variant, you get instant access to all these killer hookups. So go now, and you'll never have to leave your home or apartment, duplex, mansion, townhouse, all the above. My number 2 pick is Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Now you're probably like, wait, hold the phone, that's 2 series, not 1, Arris. But it's basically the same series. It's actually a sequel series to the Justice League. They just added Unlimited because this time around, basically every character in the DC universe is in it. Justice League and Justice League Unlimited is quite literally the best team-up of superheroes ever put into cartoon form. The animation in this show is some of the best I've ever seen, and that's largely due to the fact that Bruce Timm, who co-created and produced Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, and so on, also co-created and produced these 2 series. The guy's a genius and responsible for a big part of my childhood. The writing and story arcs in these series are flippin' fantastic, which is a big part to why the series is so good. They also handled the interaction of the characters perfectly, which is no small feat. They really made each character stand out and get you emotionally tied to them. For instance, the Flash was hilarious. I really like how they handled his character, and actually the Green Arrow is pretty funny too. Then you have Batman and Superman, who were basically pulled straight out of their own individual series, which was a brilliant move because those series were really perfect and fans had already attached themselves to those interpretations. Now I can go on and on because I love basically everything about these series, so if you want a cartoon with action, comedy, great stories, and a crap ton of superheroes, go rent or buy these cartoons now. But before I give you my number 1 pick, let's check out this week's buy list. First on my buy list for Wednesday, June 20th is Before Watchmen Comedian Issue 1. It's the first issue of the Comedian miniseries, and I'm very curious to see how it's going to turn out. Here we have Avenging Spider-Man Issue 8. This title has been great so far, and it basically has Spider-Man teaming up with a different Marvel character every issue. In this issue, Doctor Doom, Silver Sable, and Doctor Strange make an appearance. Here we have Avengers vs. X-Men Issue 6. If you've been watching the show from the beginning, you know how I feel about this comic. And here we have Rocketeer Adventures 2, Issue 4. I've been a fan of the Rocketeer ever since I saw the 1991 movie when I was a kid, and this comic is definitely better than the movie, so check it out. Finally, we have Spider-Man Issue 1. This came out last week, but I didn't mention it in last week's buy list, so I'm doing it now. It's a 5-issue miniseries where Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales meets the one and only Peter Parker. I love Spider-Man, so this is a must. And finally, my number 1 pick is Batman the Animated Series. This little piece of perfect, as I like to call it, is the Bentley of comic book cartoons. And I think most people would agree. But not only is this my favorite comic book cartoon, it's my favorite cartoon, period. The show was brilliant and was a game changer for animated shows. The series won 4 Emmy Awards and was nominated for 6 others, which is not too shabby if I do say so myself. The show is also responsible for creating Joker's girlfriend, Harley Quinn, who, as I said in last week's episode, became so popular she's been a permanent character in the DC comic universe ever since. The show also created another character called Lockup, who was also used in the comics. The series did so well, it also got its own feature film called Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which was originally supposed to be a direct-to-video movie, but Warner Brothers liked it so much they gave it a theatrical release. Now, in my opinion, this cartoon is the best interpretation we've got from Batman ever, from the voice casting with Kevin Conroy as Batman and the amazing voice of the Joker by Mark Hamill, to the stories and the animation and basically everything else involved. I can keep going and going. It's just one of those shows that every time I hear the theme song, it just warms my little heart. You know? The show is known for its mature underlining in the stories and to the overall vibe of the show, which is why I think so many adults and people besides kids love it so much. So if you're a Batman fan and you haven't seen this cartoon, stop what you are doing right now, go down to wherever you buy DVDs, buy the entire series, then watch, enjoy, repeat. Well, that's it for today's episode. It was super hard for me to only pick 5. There's so many other comic book cartoons I love, like Batman Beyond, Superman the Animated Series, The Incredible Hulk, and Spawn the Animated Series. The list goes on and on. So now I want to know what are some of your favorite comic book cartoons. You can post them in our comment section below along with your thoughts of the show, or on our Variant Facebook page. We actually put a poll up on our Facebook page where you can throw your vote for what is your favorite comic book related cartoon of all time. So you can jump over there and be a part of that if you want. And as always, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter page at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones. And I will see you next week when I talk about my top 5 most hated comic book movies of all time. Ugh.
What the was that?
Oh, Spider-Man.